Everyone needs to feel a sense of pride and home in their culture. It feels great to connect to your roots and to be able to relate to others through your culture. The problem is when you move to unfamiliar places, it becomes harder to connect with your culture. This is the case with the Mayan people in LA. When the Maya people come to Los Angeles, they face troubles connecting to their roots like their ancestors once did through storytelling. This is due to the lack of programs that preserve Mayan culture and the lack of cultural education in Los Angeles. More programs that allow Mayan people to interact with their culture more and adequate cultural education can aid in restoring Mayan sense of pride and home, one person at a time. The time is now to push the Los Angeles County to providing more programs for Mayan people and educating LA more on this beautiful culture. So in every culture, we have our own ways of expressing our love and interest uh, for where we came from. The Mayan people have an interesting way of doing this. So, like I mentioned previously, and it's called storytelling. Your parents, your grandparents have probably done it before, as they pass on stories, information, and accounts of their culture and roots. It is a way of making sure you stay connected with your culture. In Los Angeles, Mayan people kind of find it hard to do so. In Giovanni Bat's article, Maya Cultural Resistance in Los Angeles, the recovery of identity and culture in Mayan youth, he explains how Roberto, a Quiche immigrant, is marginalized in Los Angeles. According to him, and this is in his own words, two of his younger immigrant brothers no longer identify as Maya. And this is because they were constantly picked on and called indios or inditos. And I put this in quotations because this is just a derogatory term that shouldn't be used to identify people who are part of a Mayan culture. And this is a big part of the reason why a lot of these Mayan people stop identifying themselves as Mayans and stop having stronger connections with their roots because they don't want to be associated with the culture that's seen as lower or seen as a part of a lower social class. Um, so the presence after immigration to LA was received in an unwelcoming manner. So when the Maya people came to Los Angeles, they were kind of the people of Los Angeles were a little bit hostile, which made it difficult to express Mayan culture in public spaces or even run Mayan programs that helped, give a stronger sense of place to Mayan people. And nobody wants to feel welcome in a place where they believe is a fresh start. Many of these Mayan people even had to develop strategies to hide their roots when they should be finding ways of expressing them. Interestingly enough, one of Roberto's brothers claimed that a man before coming to Los Angeles told him to identify as someone from Oaxaca, which is a state in Mexico where a lot of indigenous people come from. So just the fact that Mayan people have to portray something that they're not in order to fit in, kind of shows you the problem in Los Angeles and the lack of education and the lack of resources that Mayan people have. In a survey conducted, according to Giovanni Batts, 134 Mayan immigrants were asked if they believe English or Spanish was more important to learn rather than a Mayan language. And interestingly enough, 96.2% of these people, of these 134 Mayans, they said that it is more important than learning a Mayan language, whereas only 72 people thought 72% of people, sorry, thought that learning a Mayan language was important. And this language loss is occurring due to the fear of discrimination and due to the fear of deportation. And poverty struck and undocumented Maya cannot do anything about it. They have no option of returning to Guatemala or returning to Peru or returning to their home country where they came from because they have no resources and they don't have the ability to return or send their children to connect with their roots again. And they're kind of left with no options. So they have to find strategies to hide their culture, which is completely unacceptable. And many people ask, what can we do about this injustice that the Mayan people face? The first step is finding a solution to identify. The first step to finding a solution is identifying the problem. Um, and we know that the Mayan people in Los Angeles feel out of place and connected, but why so? This is because the lack of programs that help Mayan people express themselves and the lack of education on Mayan culture, which portrays them as indios or which portrays them as lower social class. Programs that allow Mayan people to express themselves can help Mayan culture in a number of ways. First off, they have a place, sanctuary, a home, or whatever you want to call it, where they can practice and talk about their culture and where they can really, really connect to their roots, just as they did back home or just as their ancestors did. And this kind of brings back the idea of storytelling. If programs were made to facilitate the Mayan culture, they can use storytelling to connect their roots once more, just like I mentioned, their ancestors did. And these programs could be used to set up events, to bring Mayan people together and to give them a sense of pride, a sense of home, and it's something that's desperately needed for Mayan people in Los Angeles. We know that being discriminated against brings down morale, and because of this, many Mayan people have to act that like they're something else, and this is just not okay. Me myself, I have been discriminated against, but there are so many resources for Hispanics. There are so many people that are here to help us that it's easier for us to embrace ourselves and embrace our culture. In addition, educating people on Mayan culture through fairs and museums is a great way to get rid of the stereotypes surrounding Mayan people. This is something that can help educate people outside of the culture. So, what do we need to do? We need to urge the County of Los Angeles to fund more programs. We need to urge the County of Los Angeles um, to educate the people surrounding Mayan culture. We are missing out on the beauty. Los Angeles shouldn't be a should be a place of welcoming and community. Therefore, creating these programs and educating people on Mayan culture is necessary. These cultural programs are educational events are the key to allowing Mayan people to reconnect and embrace their culture with no fear. Now is the time. How long was that, bro?